Hello students, how are you doing? I hope you are doing well. This is the digestion and absorption part 1. We would be teaching. I would be teaching it. So parts to be studied under digestion. We have buccal cavity, salivary glands, esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, liver, pancreas, and gallbladder. First, we have the buccal cavity. The buccal cavity helps in mastication and swallowing. It does this job with the help of muscles. The mastication is physical degradation of food from complex food particles to smaller food particles with the help of the salivary amylase. Not salivary amylase, there is physical degradation with the help of muscles or with the help of teeth. The mastication is done by 4 muscles, namely the masseter muscle, the pterygoid muscle, both lateral and medial, pharyngeal muscle, and temporalis muscle. These muscles help in mastication. The nerve innervation for the mastication is the pharyngeal branch of the fifth trigeminal nerve. After mastication, the food particle, that is the simpler food particles, is mixed with the mucus of the mucus glands of salivary gland, and then the form is known as a bolus, that is the smaller food particles mixed with the mucus of the mucus glands, and then it is deglutted into the esophagus. How it is deglutted or swallowed? The bolus is swallowed when the tongue pushes the bolus against the hard palate, and then it is thrown into the esophagus or into the pharynx region where it moves into the esophagus. So when swallowed, the tongue pushes the bolus towards the hard palate and then throws it into the esophagus. As it reaches the esophagus, that is, as it reaches the pharynx, that is the common passage for both food and air, the trachea, that is the windpipe or the air tube, and the esophagus, the food pipe or the food tube, is present. The opening of the trachea is called the glottis. The glottis is covered by a cartilaginous flap of tissue called the epiglottis. The epiglottis constantly open and close during swallowing, and it prevents the food from entering into the glottis region by closing of the glottis. Now, if a person continuously talks during swallowing of food, the epiglottis will open and close continuously as the person is taking breath regularly or continuously. So during that moment, some of the or a very few amount of or a small particle of food may enter into the trachea or windpipe. During that condition, the trachea contains cilia, and the cilia helps in rapid ejection of that food particle out of the windpipe, because that is considered as a foreign particle in the trachea or windpipe that causes immense coughing during swallowing. And when the food bolus enters into the esophagus is consisting of smooth muscle. The smooth muscles undergo repetitive relaxation and contraction, relaxation and contraction, and that is known as peristalsis. And then the food is moves towards the stomach. The whole process is known as deglutition, or we can say the food is deglutted by the buccal cavity. So we have the frenulum lingua. What is the frenulum lingua? The tongue is attached to the floor of the buccal cavity. The tongue is attached to the floor of the buccal cavity with the help of frenulum lingua. We have the odontoid process of axis, the pharyngeal tonsil, then we have the middle meatus, then inferior meatus, and the suprameatus regions. And this is the epiglottis. See, we can see the epiglottis. The laryngeal part of pharynx, the epiglottis, the cricoid cartilage of the thyroid gland, and this is the esophagus. So the esophagus, and this is the epiglottis, which is a flap of tissue. Here is the larynx. Here is the larynx, that is the opening of the windpipe. Here is the thyroid cartilage, hyoid bone, frenulum lingua, cricoid cartilage, which is also a part of thyroid cartilage. The thyroid cartilage consists of thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, arytenoid cartilage, cuneiform cartilage, and at the last it consists of epiglottis. So this becomes the buccal cavity diagram. Next we have the salivary glands. Now salivary glands are of three types, and the location, each salivary gland's location is different. The salivary glands consist of the parotid gland, the submaxillary or submandibular gland, and the sublingual gland. The parotid glands are present in pair, and the submaxillary or submandibular and the sublingual glands are single. The duct of the parotid gland, that is called the Stenson's duct, which opens into the upper ear or underneath the upper cheek or underneath the ear. Infection to the parotid gland is known as parotitis or mumps, which is caused by paramyxovirus. The duct of submaxillary gland is called the Wharton's duct, which opens on the floor of the mouth. The duct of sublingual gland is called the duct of Rivinus, which opens into the floor of the mouth through several small ducts. We have the components, next the components of the salivary gland, or the cells of the salivary gland. The cells of the salivary glands are of two types, the acinar glands, acinar cells, and the ductal cells. In between there are some myoepithelial cells. So if we see the diagram, we can see this is the acinar cells, the ductal cells, and the myoepithelial cells.